I've been seeing this question pop up a lot lately. It has a lot to do with like dot duration, dot amplification, the rate of dot, and things of that nature. And I know it's kind of difficult to find out like that information online. So I thought it might be really cool if we just jumped into a video and we talked about like what dot is and the various versions of dot. So one of the most popular skills a lot of people talk about is Toxic Flame. Toxic Flame, very popular skill. It does a poison dot, right? So it dots, but it's not your typical dot. So there's multiple kinds of dot. Now, another skill we can talk about that's a popular skill is going to be your, if I'm right, is Piercing Arrow, which also has a bleed rate, which creates a dot. These dots are totally different. One is in fact applied in a way that says the dot is going to stack based on dot amplification. So the more dots, the higher damage for that certain period of time. You can only get so many stacks during the dot process. And that's what Toxic Flame, and if you want to talk about Will Slash, that's what Will Slash does. They add a dot, but it's not like a bleed. It's not really a poison dot or anything like that, because these can be amplified, but they can't last any longer. The duration of those dots can't necessarily be extended. So you'll see items pop around where you get plus 72% dot or plus 49% dot duration. And on Will Slash and Toxic Flame, you got to think like, do I really want my dot to last longer, or do I want that dot to be a shorter period of time? Well, because the way they operate, Will Slash and Toxic Flame don't benefit from dot duration. They benefit most from dot amplification. Those dots stack, amplified, boom, lots of damage. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it is kind of confusing sometimes when you're playing this game and you see poison skills that have different dot types. I think the easiest way is there's a poison damage and a poison chance, which creates a poison dot. And this poison dot is beneficial because the longer that dot's on the enemy, if you've got skills that say 15% more damage against enemies affected by dot. So this type of dot means you're going to be amplifying your damage while they're under the influence of the dot. Man, this gets really confusing if you think about it, doesn't it? Like, it's actually really hard to explain. So this type of poison dot, the longer it can last on the enemy, the longer you have a period of time that you can amplify that damage towards that enemy, which means you want this dot to last a long time. And then you go and you talk about, hey, Toxic Flame. All right, it creates a dot as well, but it's a different type of dot. It's a poison dot, but it doesn't dot the same. It has a set 4 seconds dot on the enemy, which currently one of the only ways that you can impact that is through damage acceleration. I got super hot, so I had to switch up. But damage acceleration is beneficial because it's beneficial to your other dot types, mainly because it will kind of shorten that time instead of lengthening the time. So you would want this on Toxic Flame, you would want this on Will Slash, but this isn't something you would necessarily want on your other bleed dots, especially if you're running a build that says enemies impacted by this status effect are going to take more damage. That means you do want your bleed or your poison to last longer on that enemy so that you could actually deal your amplified damage for a longer period of time. That's the big difference. So one side you've got Toxic Flame, where you want a short amount of time and you want the most poison damage you can get. On the other side, you've got Poison Cloud, which you want to last as long as you possibly can, so your other skills can deal amplified damage during that time. Either way it goes, dot and dot rate, dot amplification is a very confusing matter because it doesn't apply to all the dots in the same way. It's a very dotty conversation, right? Not all dots are created the same. Toxic Flame, Will Slash, those are the two dots that you're not going to be able to put a lot of strike tag bonuses on, but your Poison Cloud, your Piercing Arrow, your Blade of Death, your things of that nature are going to apply bleed. The longer that bleed or the longer that poison dot's on the enemy, the more impactful it is. But like I say, it's kind of hard to explain, so I hope this is helpful and didn't confuse you more.